Hey guys, I'm Lydia Williams and I'm here with Aaron Copley.
Hey guys.
And Dr. Rief-Stice. Today we're going to be asking her some questions. She's a professor here in the communication department. And today we just want to start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, let's see. I grew up in Augusta. I'm an Augusta native. Actually, I'm an Evans native. We like to decipher between the two, right?
Yes, please.
Superiority complex.
Oh, yeah. Evans is so much better.
Grew up here. I moved away when I went to college. I went to college in LaGrange, Georgia, at LaGrange College. And from there, I went to Auburn University, where I have a master's degree in history and a master's degree in communication.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I've been in school a long time. And then from there, I worked as an adjunct instructor at Augusta Tech, Aiken Tech, and USC Aiken. And I was hired on at Troy University, and I worked there for 3 years as a lecturer. And from there, I went to the University of Southern Mississippi, where I received my PhD, and I studied risk and crisis communication and health communication. And after that, got a job at Columbus State University and worked there for 3 years. And then the position here at Augusta University opened, and I was ready to come home.
And during that time of teaching, you're primarily teaching like public relation classes, correct?
No, I was teaching mainly speech classes.
Okay.
I was an instructor and lecturer. We call them lecturers here, and taught all the public speaking and a little bit of some other things, media writing and business professional communication and small group communication.
And you still teach public speaking here, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. Is there ever a point where you're like free from that shackle of having to teach that class? Because that's like...
Do you feel like it is a shackle?
I mean, it's a good class to teach in terms of like you're working with freshmen and you get to see a lot of them are first semester freshmen. You get to see them advance from the very start to the end of the semester and see how far they come. But it's a lot of work, and, you do get tired of hearing the same speech topics over and over. To this day, I cannot hear the speech topic about how Mardi Gras really started in Mobile, Alabama, and not New Orleans.
Oh.
Because all my students who were from Mobile, that's the topic they wanted to talk about.
They take great pride in that.
Yeah.
I see.
So I just can't.
Is there a common topic here that like everyone talks about?
Not here so much. A lot of medical stuff. A lot of students want to talk about medical stuff because they start out in biology, and then, some will continue down that path, and then some will have a life crisis and they'll become comm majors. At least we hope.
Isn't that what you did, Lydia? Question mark?
I thought we weren't going to bring this up this time.
I mean, we bring it up in everything that we do together.
So, it's a journey. Life's a journey.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It is. So what inspired you to pursue education and pursue the field of education?
So I hadn't really started out this path. I thought my life was going to be a little different. I had went to a private Methodist school with the idea that I was going to be a minister or history and do archival work. And I went and got my master's at Auburn in history, and I just didn't feel like it was a fit and that I was not on the right path. And I started talking to a friend, and at that point I was a hall director, and I really loved it. I loved planning events for the students. I loved executing the events. I loved interacting with them on a daily basis. All of the stuff that goes into like publicizing, and my friend was like, "Hey, have you thought about comm?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." And she's like, "I think you would be a really good fit." And at that point, she had been a comm major and had her master's at Auburn in comm. She was like, "Hey, why don't you go talk to the comm department?" And I went down there, and I just felt like it was the right fit, and stayed another 2 years at Auburn to finish up to do another master's. And from there, I got to teach public speaking my second year. I got my own classroom, and I really fell in love with teaching at that point and just felt like that was my calling. And it just grew from there.
So what I'm hearing is you had the exact same experience that most comm students here had.
Yep.
Where they have a thing, and then they're like, I like this thing, and then someone says this other thing, maybe comm.
Yeah. And, COMM is so broad.
That's true.
right?
I feel like a lot of people fit into the comm bubble.
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of us end up here.
Even the various like faculty members like all have different expertise, but they all teach communication. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Life's a journey.
Life's a journey. We're just going to cap off every question with life's a journey.
I always wonder what the comm professors talk about, like, because I know y'all talk, and I always just wonder because all of y'all are so different, and I just think about how y'all's personalities might mesh. But anyways, what's the funniest story you can tell us?
Oh, gosh. About what? Like being a teacher?
Anything.
Anything.
Oh.
It can be about you as a person. It can be your career. It could be your education.
Nora.
Nora.
Child is a whole separate category.
I have a lot of funny stories with Nora. I think the funniest teaching story I had, I was a first semester, just got my own class. So the first year at Auburn, you get to observe. So you observe instructors and you get assigned different classes and you have to go in there and watch how they teach and the activities they do. And then the second year you get your own classroom. And at that point I was not very smart. And I say that
I can't
I was
believe that.
green, as they say. And I didn't have any parameters on speeches. So I just let students pick their topics and I didn't check the topics before I let them pick it. And one student walked in, they were doing a demonstration speech, and literally he had carved an apple. And like made a bong with the apple and started giving a speech on how to do it. And I had to stop him right then and there when I realized what he was doing.
What year is this?
Oh gosh. I think it was 2008, 2009.
Why was he making
I've
an
always
apple?
wondered how people did that.
So, no.
Well, you
no.
got to hear his speech.
Yeah.
I think if I was a professor, I would have been so intrigued.
I mean,
No. I wanted to crawl under a desk. Right. Luckily, I was not observed that day. But at that point, I was like, I really need to reevaluate how
clearly
I
students
let
cannot run wild with this.
Yeah. So now I have a band list, and that's like number one on the band list. That and Mardi Gras.
My sister took public speaking last semester, and some of the speech topics that she would tell me about were questionable at best. Like someone talked about Pete Diddy, which I thought was interesting.
This one guy talked about his pet peeve of people leaving cabinet doors open for his entire speech.
Like a 5-minute speech.
I think it was a long speech. Maybe it just felt really long, but he was talking about cabinet doors being left open the entire speech.
Do you remember, because in public speaking, you have to do like an informative speech and like narrative speech. Do you remember which one it was?
I think it was informative.
That sounds like a persuasive speech. Shut the door.
Please.
Shut the door.
Please.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's granted. I guess he didn't do it very well if you're thinking of it negatively, but asking students to write a speech about their pet peeves sounds like a pretty good prompt.
Yeah, that was
I haven't
the
done that
speech, I
one.
think.
I haven't done that one.
Yeah.
You should give it a try.
It was cool. It was a cool prompt, but it was hard to like figure it out because I don't like have a singular pet peeve. People just make me mad a lot.
Just say people.
Yeah.
My
I
pet
should've
peeve
done
is
that.
people.
What have been some highlights in your career so far? Me and Aaron.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
Of course. You know,
We're just so great.
I think it's a collective highlight, right? Like, I always tell students, I should never expect more out of you than you expect out of yourself, right? You should always hold yourself to a higher standard. And what's really cool is watching you leave here. And I always tell students, I'm still here. Just because you leave doesn't mean I'm not here. I will, if you have questions, you can always still email me. Our relationship doesn't have to end. If you need me, I'm here for you. And what's really cool is the ones that do want to keep in touch.
So they can take you to Disney.
That's right. Seeing them progress in their career from where they are when they walk in the door of my classroom to where they are now is really just rewarding, right? I get to see you all succeed, and that's a collective win. Knowing that I played a small part in getting you to the next level makes me feel really good.
Is Is that a form of like living vicariously through them?
Maybe, or I think it's just, you just get to see that what little influence you did have actually has paid off in a positive way.
I see.
Right? You know,
It makes you feel like your work is worth it.
yeah. You know, you don't do this because we're going to get rich. I don't do
Sure.
this because I'm going to get rich.
So I've heard.
I do this because I love it. I love interacting with students. I love seeing when the light bulb goes off and you realize something.
That's a great moment.
It is. You did Communicon, watching you all execute that
Flawlessly,
huge
might I add.
event last semester. It is. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I am contributing to society and contributing to your growth. And I get to see you all do great things. And that's really rewarding. So I don't know if it's a vicariously living through as much as I just know I played a small part in it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is that why the professors talk so much? Because you're able to track students' growth by like...
Yeah. I know we don't always talk about you. Like, we do have lives.
I'm sure.
But, you know, we check in with each other. Like, if we see a student struggling and you're in multiple classes, we will check in with each other. Like, hey, have you seen Lydia recently? Is she doing okay? She hasn't been in my class. I'm a little concerned. And they will be like, well, she hasn't been in my class either. And, you know, that's how we talk. We try to make sure that we are thinking about students up front, what's going on with them, make sure they're doing okay.
Professor Wilson told me that y'all think we're y'all's kids.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, that would make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, for a lot of these students, you're seeing them more often than they see their parents.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I see my professors way more than I see my mom.
Last semester, I saw you more than I saw my parents.
Oh, well, I'll take that as a compliment.
Not this semester, though.
No, I don't see you much this semester, and that makes me sad. But, you know, like, I do think of you guys as my kids. I want to see your success as much as I want to see my own success. And I try to do that. Like with the Communicon class, we had a party. We have a party at the end of the semester when they have worked hard. We get to have a reward for that, right? But yeah.
You mentioned you see our success in the same way that you see your success. Do you feel like you've succeeded at this stage in life?
Yeah, that's a good question because you're always pushing, right? I believe I push. And what I mean by that, it's not just teaching, but research, right? There's always a new project.
Right.
There's always a new class to prep for. There's always a different way to teach a class. How can I make this class better? And I actually take your feedback when you give constructive feedback. And try to make it better. That's a good question. Ask me again.
In this stage of life, do you feel like you've succeeded?
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean like you succeeded in your life. It's done.
No.
But
I feel like I have worked really hard to get where I'm at, and I'm now starting to reap the rewards of that. I don't know if that makes sense.
No,
but,
that makes sense.
You know, I'm recently tenured, or I haven't received my official letter, but I'm waiting on my official letter for tenure, and
Congratulations.
Thank you, and that has been a push, and I do feel successful in that way, because it's a lot of work to get tenure. It's a lot of publications. It's a lot of teaching, being available to students. I do a lot of service for the department. So yes, I do feel like I'm successful. Yeah, I have a great family. I love my husband.
You love your kid. Some days more than others.
Yes. I feel like I live under a dictatorship with her most days.
Oh my gosh. Can you tell us about challenges in your career?
Yeah, I can. There's been a couple. The first one was I almost quit my PhD.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've known a lot of people to quit their PhD.
It is a marathon.
Yeah.
And you have to be, it takes a mental toll on you.
Yeah.
But toward the end of my program, my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. It was in 2016. He was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. I had my retina detached from my right eye, and I had to have surgery.
Oh my gosh.
And there were just a couple other things that happened. I got married. That was another. And my husband and I had, for 5 years, we had been a long distance couple, and we finally lived. He moved to Mississippi, and we finally lived together. And in all of that, I was trying to write my dissertation, and
oh my gosh.
every day was a grind. I couldn't, my mom would call with my updates on my dad. I wasn't sure he was going to be at our wedding, trying to plan a wedding and to do everything. I look back at that time and just, I don't know how I made it, but my advisor set me down, and I always find a good mentor, find one. And he was like, you've worked really hard. You're at the tail end here. Don't quit. And he would meet me every day. I would go sit with him at a coffee shop, and we would work. Every day he did that for me. And I was able to finish. My husband also said I couldn't quit. So between the two of them, I got through it.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And the second one was COVID kind of was a challenge, I think, in my career. I had a new baby, and there was COVID, and we moved, and I started the job here. There was just a lot going on. But, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger and makes you a better professor. So that's how I try to, because of those experiences, give my students grace when they need grace.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so we're talking about challenges, and brings us to my favorite question is, what gets you out of bed in the morning? Like, what is your motivator for getting out of bed?
Well, my 4-year-old wakes me up and tells me it's time to eat, and she's hungry. So that's a pretty big motivator. But, I just, knowing that I get to come in and work with you all and see you all and ask how you're doing, and, you tell me what's going on in life, and again, seeing student success really gets me out of bed. And knowing that I'm making a difference. Or at least I'm hoping I'm making a difference.
Yeah, you are. You definitely are. You definitely are.
I think so.
Were you hoping I would say Disney World?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would be music to my ears. It'd be really funny.
I mean, knowing...
Do you consider yourself a Disney adult?
I am absolutely a Disney adult.
At least you own up to it.
Nope.
What's your favorite Disney movie? I don't think you've ever told me.
Really like Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, that's a good one.
The cartoon, not the
Yeah.
Do you like the live action?
I like
No, it's my favorite.
I really like it.
Of the live actions, that's one of my favorite, which is still a low bar, but
Cinderella live action was pretty good. I like that one a lot.
I don't think I've watched it.
The story of Cinderella just isn't that engaging to me. So I don't think they could do it in a way that makes me excited to watch it.
Have you seen the 101 Dalmatians, I would say, is another one of my
great.
personal favorites. Live action is really good too.
Cruella or the 101 Dalmatians live action?
I like them both.
I love Cruella. It's so fun.
I could see you liking that.
It's just a good time.
Yeah.
I like when Disney says, okay, we don't have to follow the same steps of the previous installment. Let's just do our own thing with this.
I was kind of hoping they would do that with Beauty and the Beast a little bit. I think I went in Aladdin. I went into that expectation that maybe they would do some changes, and they really stuck by the storyline.
I liked Aladdin though, like the live action.
I hated that
it
one.
Too.
I liked it.
That one and Mulan are the two that made me go.
I don't think I've watched Mulan.
I didn't see
bad.
Mulan.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one either.
It's so bad. But it's also like a story. Mulan specifically is a story that I really like. And so for them to just ruin it, like, hurt a little bit more.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We like going. I mean, I've always liked going to Disney World, but I really like going now as an adult.
I get so
taking my
tired.
child.
Every time I go to Disney or Universal, I get so sleepy, like 3 hours in. I'm very low energy.
You can't go with me, Lydia. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Every time we've gone, me and my mom, we get like halfway through the day and we're like, can we go back to the hotel?
I've never gone. I wonder how long I would last.
Oh my God. It's so tiring. It just doesn't feel like a vacation to me. Like whenever I go on a vacation, I want to lay on a beach.
Oh, see, we do a breaks. We'll take a nap in the middle of the day.
Yeah,
and we'll
you
go
have
back.
to.
Yeah.
It's a good break.
Yeah.
And we try to do resort days too, where we just stay by the pool.
Are you raising a Disney kid?
I think so.
That's good.
Oh gosh.
Apple doesn't fall far,
It's a
far from the
cycle.
tree. A vicious cycle. And then she's going to be a Disney adult and she's going to have a kid.
Mommy, when are we going? When are we going? I want to see Mickey. Let's go see Minnie. I want to ride in the minivan.
And then you tell her to get a job.
No.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Okay, so to get back on topic, I really think this question's interesting. So how have you seen your field evolve over the years, and what do you think it'll look like in the future?
Okay, so just in terms of teaching, how technology has evolved has been really interesting. I used to be able to walk into a classroom with a PowerPoint, and you would have thought that was high tech, right? And that I was making waves. And to now see where we are technology-wise and having to be adaptable, right? So now we have ChatGPT. Well,
I knew you were going to bring up ChatGPT.
How can I incorporate ChatGPT in such a way where I don't feel like students are necessarily shortchanging themselves and their education, but I know it's a technology that they will use. So it's always finding that balancing on what is changing and adapting in the field and having to be flexible. But yeah, I just think it's funny. I would walk in with a PowerPoint, be able to lecture and keep their attention. And now I walk into a classroom and I work really hard to keep students' attentions.
Yeah.
Really hard. Because I know if I don't, you'll be on your phones zoned out somewhere. So
some of us, not all of us.
So I always try to like walk around, try to find something personal about you that I can like, you know, banter with you. I like to banter with I like to make jokes about myself because I feel like that engages you also. So I would say that's been a big change in evolving in education is keeping students engaged, keeping them that desire to learn, integrating technology that I know they will use in such a way that it doesn't shortchange the educational experience.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you think we'll go back around, like loop back so the PowerPoints are like more, not revolutionary, but like more the standard or status quo of lecturing?
No, I mean, for many professors, that is the way to go. And, you know, I still use PowerPoint in the classroom. I just don't think it's the key. You can't rely on it like you used to. Like I make sure I have some activities for you all to do and that we're doing things that don't rely heavily on PowerPoint.
I love a good activity.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Hayward has the best activities.
Right. Discussion questions.
Yeah.
Watching videos. Right. You just can't, I can't just read off the lecture from a PowerPoint and expect students to pay attention now.
But I imagine it's made online teaching a lot easier.
It has, right? And I would say that's a critical component of online teaching. But in person, keeping your attention, it's gotten a lot harder over the years.
Do you think that's a positive, negative, or is it like a neutral thing?
That's a good question. I really think in terms, it can be a negative thing because you're so used to being entertained and seeing the next thing that you can't just be still and process the information of what's being said.
Yeah.
And that is truly a gift. When you can clearly listen and comprehend and not use distraction, not have something that you're on to distract you, I find students can't do it. So I think that's a gift that students should work or a skill students should work on more.
To play devil's advocate, I do think a part of it is like challenging like professors to like evolve how they teach in a meaningful way.
I can only work on myself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why with a lot of my classes, you'll see that I do a service learning component or you work more with clients because I want you to have more hands-on experience because you'll be more engaged with hands-on. You may hate it at the time. I feel like you learn more doing it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Aaron said, like it's definitely just calls professors to be more challenged, but at the same time, it's cool to like see all the different creative ways y'all come up with to like help teach us and help like keep us engaged.
Yeah. I would love to watch a video that has recordings of each faculty member's style of teaching and like cuts between them so I can just see all of them in one package to see how different it is.
And it would be absolutely different because how
That would
Dr.
be so
Hayward runs a
chaotic.
class is not how the same.
And then we
I run
cut
a
to
class.
Professor Wilson.
Oh my gosh, no.
We cut to Professor Johnson.
I think y'all should have to go to other professors' classes.
We do. We go
Really?
and evaluate each other on our teaching and give
Really?
feedback. Yeah.
Whose teaching style do you like the best?
Ooh.
I really like Daniel Ruth's teaching style.
Oh yeah, I whenever I took his class, it was literally just media literacy, and that's the class like a lot of people in our department will say is like the most boring and like mundane class because
I've never had a class with him.
Really? I took media literacy with him and I loved that class. It was so cool and I retained so much information. And he does this thing where like you read or like you're supposed to like learn part of the material before you ever even come to class. And if you actually did what you're supposed to do and like did that, I just like I learned so much in that class and it was very engaging. But I only had one class with him. I was always sad I never got to have another one with him.
Yeah, I never will. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
What is your guilty pleasure outside of your career? Is it Disney?
World.
I feel
Disney World. I love to read too.
What type of books do you like to read?
Oh, trash.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I've been like into trash books a lot recently. I was doing really good over the summer. I was reading like straight nonfiction. I think I read like 10 nonfiction books in a row. And then I started reading like fairy tale, smut, trash. I read ACOTAR.
Oh, dude, I'm in the middle right now.
I haven't finished the last book. I got stuck. And now I'm reading Fourth Wing.
I'm reading Throne of Glass.
Oh.
Fourth Ring is the next series I start.
I just started Fourth Wing.
I find I have to do something not academic. And I think that's why I like Disney too, is I can just go and like be. I do a lot of academic reading when I'm at work. I do a lot of writing. And sometimes I just need fairy smut to get through the day.
Smut is crazy.
Can't relate.
On the academic podcast. Aaron, what's your guilty pleasure outside of school?
Lego.
Lego.
It'll always be Lego. Yeah, I'm predictable.
You're predictable.
Yeah. What's yours then? Is it just reading? I shouldn't say just reading. I didn't mean it in that way.
Yeah, I think that's probably like the biggest one. I work out a lot. And whenever I work out, I listen to a lot of podcasts. And I've been listening to this audio book recently. It's called like How to Not Give a F or something by Mance.
I saw that in Barnes & Noble.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. I've been listening to it because I need that.
I like murder podcasts a lot too. I listen to a lot of
I get
murder
really
podcasts.
paranoid. I have paranoia issues, so I can't do that.
We're almost at our time, but there's 2 points I really wanted to hit on.
Okay.
The first is, if you could telepathically tell something to every student simultaneously, what would you say to them?
Don't sell yourself short.
I feel like you would tell me to stop being lazy.
You are smarter than you think you are, but you may have to work harder.
Out of curiosity, does your answer change if you're telepathically telling them in their own voice rather than your voice?
Oh, what?
So like you're saying something and Lydia says it in her head. Like, does that change how you word it? Do you give a different response?
No, I think I would give the same response.
Okay.
All right. I see a lot of students sell themselves short. You know, you've got a lot of talent, but if you don't recognize that you have talent, you'll never grow. And that's
fair.
something I strive. I really hope I hone that into students and like help grow that in them is, you know, don't ever sell yourself short. If this is your dream, go for it. You only get to live once. Now, I'm not saying do crazy things, right? But you only get one lifetime. And if you don't take a little risk, you'll never know. And what I mean by that is, you know, you may have to leave Augusta. You may have to go clear across the country to take a chance.
Sounds like a dream.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised how many students balk at that idea and like get really upset at that idea. But you have to take risks. Sometimes they pay off.
Sometimes they don't.
And sometimes they don't. But the point is, if you don't take them, you'll never know. And, you know, at this point in my life, we took a risk. When I took the job here, we took a major risk. We uprooted our life. We sold our house. We had a beautiful house in Columbus. We bought a not great house in Evans that needed a lot of work. And I had a new baby. And I wasn't sure how this job was going to play out or how I was going to fit in. And you know, my husband at that point didn't have a job. I took this job and we started immediately trying to find him a job here. And sometimes you just have to take the risk. I took a huge risk leaving my full-time employment at Troy University and my at that time, my boyfriend, right? And I took a risk and I went to Southern Miss, which was 5 hours away from him, not knowing. He kept saying we were going to get through it. We were going to be fine. And I was just like, yeah, right. But now we're married. And
you got through it.
We got through it. But I would have never, if he had not told me to do it, and my boss at Troy had told me that he was not going to renew my contract, that was all another reason why I went back. Because he said as soon as he retired, that would be the last thing he would do was not sign my contract.
Oh.
He would fire me.
Wow.
Because he really wanted me to go back to school. And I took the risk. And, you know, I'm really glad I did. And I'm really glad I had the support system in place to tell me to take the risk.
Well, we're really glad you succeeded. And you've talked a lot about how much you love students and watching them succeed. But that leads us into the final segment, which is I would like you to read out loud a screenshot of a Rate My Professor review.
Oh, I hate Rate My Professor.
And I just wanted to hear your initial reactions, any comments you have about Rate My Professor. I'm sure you have a lot to say. Lydia, will you do the honors of handing it to...
I feel like I need a drum roll. It's really not that bad.
This course is typically taken for credit needed to graduate, but she makes it difficult. Her instructions are unclear and hard to understand. She's a tough grader and takes class too seriously for a required online. Very strict on work and videos. Would not recommend taking. And of course, it's COMM 1110.
I was about to say, wait, what class is that?
Public speaking.
I don't know numbers.
That's some students love you, some students don't.
Do you think the comment has validity?
I am a tough grader. I'm a tough grader. Yeah. I want you to walk away with my class with the skills needed to be successful.
I just feel like you don't like being disrespected, like in any sense. And like whenever students like aren't putting their effort into your class, you feel disrespected.
And
that's a good way to look at it.
There's an extra layer because it's an online course. So you're not putting a name to the face.
Yeah. It's harder. Like I would say in my upper level classes, right? Like I want to make sure you get jobs, right? Yeah. So yeah, when you don't meet the standards, again, if I expect more out of you than you expect out of yourself, then I have a hard time reconciling that because I really want you to be successful. I want you to leave here and make more money than me. Right?
And if the person who left that review is watching this, she still wants you to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but I will say this review also happened during the hurricane.
Sure.
And life just imploded during the hurricane.
It really did.
I think we all deserve some grace.
Oh, absolutely. And I tried to give grace to all my classes. And I think it's interesting too because I offered like 50 extra credit points in these classes.
Oh my god.
It's very telling like of what kind of student it is just based off of the way the review is worded.
Yeah. I mean, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
Not everyone is going to like me and that's okay. But as long as I continue to make a difference in some students' lives, then I've done my job.
In the book I was listening to, he was talking about how like if there aren't people that absolutely hate who you are, then you're not like being yourself enough to like truly make a difference in the people who actually do love you's lives.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it was just interesting.
I think that's something I've had to learn in my college years.
I've had students that I had at Troy come back, find me online, send me messages and tell me that they really couldn't stand me when they took my classes, but they're really glad they did.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was still kind of a new teacher then too.
Yeah.
And I would, and, you know, again, you win some, you lose some. But the point is I do this because I love it. And you shouldn't, even if I've had students be like, well, you pick on me. Well, yeah, but if I didn't pick on you, I don't love you. If
you must really love Max then.
Oh my god.
You know, JJ, I think would be another example. So you once said to me, Dr. Carrie, am I ever not going to be kiddo? And I can tell you until you become my age, you will always be kiddo, even when you're 50. If I see you out, I'm gonna be like, hey, kiddo, how you doing? Because that's a term of affection and endearment for me.
I suppose I'll take that.
Yeah. So if I ever call you kiddo, it's because it's an endearment term. At least I'm not calling you dictator like I call my kid.
Sure.
So.
Sure. That'd be an interesting power dynamic if you called the students dictator.
I'm going to start calling Aaron dictator.
No.
Yeah.
No. Okay, I'll take it. I'll accept that. Well, Dictator, do you want to take us home? Do you want to outro this?
I'm not the dictator here.
Can I have a final thoughts moment?
Yes.
Final thoughts. I had a really good final thought and it just left me. Final thoughts. The risk, right? Like I want to go back to this idea of risk. Don't be afraid of taking a risk. That should be your final thought. When you leave college, you have spent really hard working all these years to learn and grow. Take the risk and continue to grow, because the person you are now will not be the same person you are 10 years from now, will not be the same person you are 20 years from now. But it takes taking risk, and it takes leaving and taking advantage of opportunities. And then not every opportunity should be taken advantage of. But when a good one comes along, don't hesitate. It will work out. And if it doesn't, then you know you can always come back.